They come to sense us, right, Emily? I know, it's very cute. I'm endeared. I do have to sit really still for meditation. Some of the students were last night in the restorative yoga class, and they were both climbing up over the restorative poses even when I was standing, and then they were climbing back down. He is feeling better still, Miss Pelly. Thank you. Yeah. They might climb on me today while I'm teaching, but they don't have very strong claws, so it's not really distracting. It's kind of endearing. Okay, thank you for coming for class. We keep needing the yoga. Every day we need the yoga, just like every day we need each other. We need our connections and sense of optimism and courage, camaraderie, community. So I'm glad you're here. We're going to sit for a little bit of quiet together as is customary, and I'll get him settled and me settled. And I'd like to be diving in this afternoon to the hips and pelvis a bit with you. So sit in a way that you're comfortable and know that you might get a chance to kind of keep recontemplating that, what's happening in your hips and pelvis. So you can rest your hands in your lap as you like, and you're welcome to close your eyes. And when you're coming into your practice this afternoon, if you're in the UK, it's evening, but when you're coming into your practice, place your mental focus for right now down into the pelvic basin, the pelvic bowl. And as I said yesterday, and I'll keep saying as long as we need it to be said, when you sense the places that you are connecting to the ground, imagine those connections actually going down into the earth, as if you had more than one root that can go down like that. When you send your attention down and down like that, consider the stability, the nourishment, the connection, the life forms that are in the soil. And imagine yourself tapping in with your mind and your body to those resources. The stability, nourishment, the forces of life and nature in the soil that we can't always see, we don't always know is there, but it is that soil in which things are grown. We want that to be really nutritive in the same way that we want the soil in which your thoughts are being grown or which your motivations are springing forth from. We want that to be a very sort of nutrient-dense soil. So to help your foundation and your own physical root system to be more nutrient dense, you send the breath down to those sensations where you're connected to the ground. So your body, your breath, and your mind will all be in one location. And make the breath now a cadence and a pace that you feel like, yeah, you could be sustained by that. It's not too scattered, it's not too dull, it's not chaotic, it's not lethargic. And then please bring your hands together at your heart. And try to sense when we chant together that even your voice can come from that lower sort of root place. So We'll sing Asatoma Satgamaya. Let's begin. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart and release your hands and open your eyes. So may your thoughts and your actions, your speech, your motivations come from nutrient-dense soil. So as you're sitting, I'm going to push back from the computer a little bit so I won't run into it. So as you're sitting, interlace your fingers, please. Take the heels of your hands forward. And then imagine you're doing cat pose right now and roll towards the back of your sitting bones, the back of your sacrum. Broaden the back of your body. And try to sense now the movement of your pelvis as you inhale, rise up, arms overhead, come towards the front of your sitting bones as if you were doing cow pose in a quadruped position. And then exhale, float your arms forward, roll towards the back of your sitting bones, broaden like cat pose. Inhale to go up and try to really notice the sensations of your pelvis shifting on the support which you are sitting. And then exhale, coming down. And if my pace is too slow or too fast for you, you can adopt to your own pace. So inhale, rolling up when you're ready. Exhale, rolling down and in when you are ready to. Once more. And exhale, kind of like cat pose, let the spine round and broaden. Now last time to go up, inhale, reach both arms up overhead. Look up as you finish your inhalation. And then exhale, sweep the arms wide, come down, and place your fingertips behind you, gaze forward. Walk your fingertips back so they point towards your hips like this. And then as you inhale, press up again like cow pose. As you exhale, bring your chin down and in, round your spine, roll your shoulders forward, broaden the back of your body. Inhale, roll up, and try to go vertebrae by vertebrae up to the high point of your inhalation. Exhale, start from your chin, roll down, going down the spine, round your shoulders forward, broaden your lower back, root the tailbone under. Again, please inhale. And exhale. And then simply come upright and try to sense where would you sit. That would be the center of the sitting bones, the center of the pubic bones, and the tailbone. Those are sort of bony landmarks. Right now, you probably feel your sitting bones. You may not feel the tailbone or the pubic bone, but you can sense where they are. Where is the center to sit? And keeping that center stable, reach your left hand to your right knee and twist to your right. And if you were to imagine each of those bony landmarks, the tailbone, the pubic bone, the sitting bones, if they were their own roots going down into the earth, have you uprooted any one of them in twisting, or can you deepen a sense of connection to each of those 4 points? One more breath in, please. And then exhale, rotate around to center and cross to the other side. And notice you'll have to put your attention perhaps on one of the other 4 roots. So when you're twisting to your left, for example, check in with your right sitting bone. And imagine these 4 root tendrils, they can go down into the earth for your stabilization and nourishment, nutrient-dense soil. Inhale once more. And then using the low belly, when you exhale, rotate around to face forward and see if you can again arrive in the beautiful balance of those 4 points. And then come over to table pose with a blanket for your knees. I'm going to shift my camera. So a blanket for your knees, please, because we're going to be on the knees in table pose for a few minutes. And we're going to change also into gate pose and a couple of others. So you can go where you like. There you are. So let's start in quadruped with both knees supported. You can also support your shins this morning if you'd like to. Hi, honey. Yeah. And then from this quadruped position, step your right foot out to the side, turn your right toes to point forward, and see if you can balance the 4 points you were just exploring. And in this position now, we're going to inhale to cat pose, roll the tailbone down. Exhale to cow pose, and notice that you're likely going to fan across some sensations at the right inner thigh. And then inhale to cat pose. Exhale to cow pose. So lift your sitting bones, glide your pubic bone back, bring your heart forward. And inhale to cat. So the pelvis, hopefully you have the freedom to rotate around your thigh bone to move easily in the same way that you might move the lid of a jar while holding the jar stable. We want your right femur to be stable. Let's do it again. Inhale to cat pose. And the pelvis rolls smoothly, we hope, as you exhale to cow pose. Send your sitting bones back, bring your heart forward. Now look for neutral with your pelvis from the inside. And place your right hand between where both hands are now. And twist to your left. Press down into your right arm, right foot, right leg. And as you twist left, try to keep your pelvis level. And then exhale to come back down. Place your hands so they're under your shoulders. Swing your right knee back to table pose. Step your left foot out to the side. Turn your toes to point forward. And then again, inhale to cat pose, round your spine. And exhale to cow pose. And again, inhale to cat. So know you're moving the whole spine. Try to place your mind down in the sensations associated with your left hip, left inner thigh, maybe your left hamstring a little bit. One more time, inhale to cat pose. Broaden your back. And exhale to cow pose. Now find neutral with your pelvis and place your left hand in the center of both hands. Root down through your left hand, twist to your right. Notice the strength you need in your left leg, left foot, left shoulder, left arm. And then exhale and come down. Right hand, left hand underneath your shoulders, please. Bring your left knee into table pose, regular table pose. And then set yourself up so that your table pose can become your plank pose. Gaze down between your thumbs, broaden the back of your body, and step your feet back, plank pose. In plank pose, sense now these tap roots from your hands, your fingerprints, your thumbprints, all 10 toes. As you root down, breathe deeply and consistently. And then inhale, rise up and back to your downward facing dog pose. And gaze back between your toes and heels. So your gaze is back towards the back hemisphere of your mat. Even though the hands continue to reach down like roots into the soil. And then exhale completely, please, and start walking your hands with straight elbows. Walk your hands back, leap over your blanket, and come into the pose called Uttanasana, the standing forward bend. And in your Uttanasana, gaze back between your heels and toes. Imagine the root system going down from your toes, your heels, the mounds of the toes, and even as you place your fingers and thumbs, smaller roots going down from those contact points. And then please shift your hands to your hips and rise up to standing. Okay, take a wide stance on your mat. So we're going to go into a Prasarita Padottanasana exploration. And we will be bending to one side deeply and the other side. So it might be a day when you're going to use your yoga blocks. So come down to Prasarita Padottanasana. And go ahead and start with just touching the floor with your fingers and your palms, if that's within reach for you. Or you can start right away with your blocks. So when the legs are centered here, and we're going to keep the legs stable, I'd like you to just shift your left hip high and your right hip low. So we haven't bent either knee. We're not really shifting the whole body left to right. Just bring your left hip up as well as you can and bring the right hip down. It might help if you think of really toning the right outer hip muscles. And you may sense that your right inner thigh is momentarily longer than your left. And take a deep breath in. And then glide across. So your right hip's going to be high. The left hip is going to be low. And you want to squeeze a little bit the left outer hip muscle. Also tone your left inner thigh. And now see if you can glide easily and ease fully left to right. So not really gliding and then knocking into your leg bones, but moving smoothly as if you were the Tin Man and you had received the oil. And go side to side slow. You may notice what we were talking about yesterday where we're moving through a practice and some sensations will arise, some sensations will dissolve. In the present moment, we are both arriving and departing, and nothing is permanent. Now, the next time that you glide your right hip high, go ahead and stay there. And begin to bend your right knee deeply. Sit back into your hips and back into your right heel. So you're not pitching forward onto your right knee or toes. And as you sit down to the right like this, keep the right knee pressing out, kind of in line with the toes of your right foot. You may relax the weight of your head any amount that you're able to, and perhaps gaze back past your yoga mat towards the wall or the baseboard behind you. Now, as you press into your right heel, begin to really slowly make that root deeper. You're going to straighten the right leg slowly, slowly. You'll come up to neutral, and then glide your left hip high, and then bend your left knee and come down to the left. And again, sit into your hips and back into your heels. So you're not really pitching forward towards your left knee or your left toes. And gaze towards the back side of your mat. Breathe in, notice which sensations are arising and how you greet them. And also some sensations are dissolving. How do you acknowledge their departure? Now walk yourself back up to center by making the left foot and left root stronger. And then let's go heel toe to center. As you come to center, return to Uttanasana, the standing forward bend. And then legs energized. Let's inhale, sweep the arms forward and rise up to standing towards mountain pose. And then exhale, release your arms. And please step forward for Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation. And let me get my camera so that I won't have my head cut off in the sun salutation. Okay, so for Surya Namaskar, there's going to be a little fun for plank pose. I did say fun and plank pose in the same sentence. It's important to have you guys feel rooted and strong and stable this time of year, so I got that crooked. Just a moment. There we go. There's your fellow student. Oh, he walked off camera. Okay, so plank pose is an important stabilizing pose. That's what I'm talking about with this. So please bring your hands together at your heart. Press down into all 10 toes. Lift your arches. Root your heels. You can have a sense right here from mountain pose that if you lift the inner arches, the inner thighs also get toned. When you root the outer heels, you can also tone your outer hips. And then take the tailbone down. So there's going to be tone across the front of the abdomen. And now we'll begin. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale, rise up, upward hands pose. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward. Exhale, left toes back, basic lunge. Inhale, rise, crescent lunge. Now exhale, slowly descend and place both hands firmly on your blocks. Press into both arms and pick your right foot up, right knee to your chest, one-legged plank pose. Exhale, step it back, plank pose. Inhale, downward facing dog. Exhale, left foot forward between your hands. That's the base for your lunge pose. Inhale to rise, crescent lunge. And exhale, descend. Now keep the right leg strong behind you. Touch both blocks firmly. So your arms are already in plank pose. Pick up your left foot, left knee to chest, plank pose. And then step back, plank pose. Inhale, downward facing dog pose. Exhale, right foot forward, left foot forward, stepping into Uttanasana. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. And exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Chair pose. Inhale to rise, upward hands. Uttanasana, keep your inner arches, inner thighs strong. Find a place on your blocks. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Bring your gaze forward. Exhale, right toes back first this time. Establish the base of your lunge. Inhale, glide up, crescent lunge. Now exhale, come forward and plan to put your hands firmly on the blocks. You are going to step again to the same kind of plank pose. So pick up your left foot, knee to chest plank pose. Notice that your knee can also touch your left elbow. Okay, and then exhale, step back, plank pose. Now inhale, take your left toes out to the side. Touch the floor there. Exhale, glide it back. Inhale, right toes. Glide back. Inhale, left toes. Glide back. Right. And back. Left. And back. And downward facing dog pose. And then right foot forward to the base of your lunge. With your in-breath, rise up, please. And exhale, wide, forward, down. Press firmly, pick up your right foot. Exhale, plank pose. This time inhale, downward facing dog pose. And exhale, left foot forward, right foot forward, and Uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale to the heart. Notice your footprints on the ground. And any sense of your connection to the earth deeper than your footprints. And feel into the larger force of gravity, which is kind of hugging your body to the earth right now. How much you want to express your gratitude for that. So we're going to step back to triangle pose as a part of our sequence. So let's inhale, raise your arms and your heart. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale, rise up, root down and down into your toes and your heels. And then Uttanasana. Complete your exhale breath as you gaze back past your feet. Inhale, glide forward. Left toes back, basic lunge. Inhale to rise, crescent lunge. Exhale, warrior two. Pivot your left heel to the floor and notice your root system here. So before we go to Trikonasana, when you're here in warrior two, press into both feet firmly. Lengthen your right inner thigh and try to imagine, you can even close the eyes, imagine all four bony landmarks and that they want to be mostly level right now. So left sitting bone, right sitting bone, your tailbone, your pubic bone. So keeping those level means that for some of you, you have to think about moving the left sitting bone towards the right sitting bone because the left hip hikes a little bit high when it's in the back leg position. And we're going to head towards Trikonasana like this. As you inhale, straighten your right leg. Now when you rotate, you are going to turn your pelvis as if you're turning a dial, and all 4 bony points are going to move towards your left leg. So angle your right sitting bone, tailbone, left sitting bone, pubic bone to aim towards your left heel. And breathe in and out through the nose. Try to sense how your roots, your legs, your feet, your toes, how do they change when the pelvic orientation changes? Now, keeping your left leg really strong, start to bend your right knee back to what would be warrior 2, but let's keep the right hand on the block. You bend and glide into that. And then inhale, straighten your right leg. Glide your 4 points towards your left heel. And then exhale, bend your right knee slowly. And just try to sense how can you bring your right thigh forward while you keep those 4 points angling towards your left heel. Let's do that one more time. Press into your right leg firmly. Aim the 4 points at the base of the pelvis towards your left inner heel. And one more time, bend your right knee, glide through your right thigh while keeping those 4 points aiming towards your left heel. And then bring your left fingertips back to your blocks and let's pivot the left heel up and step into one-legged plank pose. Right knee to chest plank pose. And then plank pose. I have to let the cat down. There you go, honey. Okay, downward facing dog pose. Now the other side. So left foot forward, please. That's your basic lunge. Press into your left heel and rise up, crescent lunge. So even here you could pause to ask, are those 4 points pretty much level with the floor right now? So you don't have one hip higher or lower, or the pelvis tip more forward or more backwards. Can they be pretty level? And inhale and rotate to warrior 2, keeping your body stable, as stable as your cat needs you to be. And check with your mind's eye. If you go inside and ask, okay, where are the 2 sitting bones? Are they mostly level? Is the pubic bone relative to the tailbone also level? And I'm not asking, have you turned 180 on your mat with your pelvis? I'm only asking, is the pelvis level? Keep your right leg strong, left foot steady. Some of you will have to think about the right sitting bone moving towards the left sitting bone. Now press down into your left leg, slowly, slowly. Try to keep the 4 points level for right now, so your torso is still upright. And then we are going to rotate the pelvis like a dial. So you're coming down towards triangle pose. So aim all 4 of those points towards your right heel. You may have to firm your right outer hip to stay consistent with that. You may have to lengthen your left inner thigh and tone your left outer hip and thigh. And then as you exhale, start gliding your left knee into kind of the position of warrior 2, but without your pelvis rotating. And try that about 3 times. We're going to inhale, straighten and strengthen the left leg. Aim those 4 points towards your right heel. And exhale, bend your left knee. Try to keep your right leg as rooted as possible. Right heel, right toes. Right inner thigh should be long. Twice more. Inhale to straighten. Exhale to bend. And then bring your right fingertips down to your blocks. And set up for plank pose, so pivot your right heel up and then left knee to your chest, plank pose. And plank itself, and then downward facing dog pose. And then please roll forward, touch your knees down to the floor. Take one of your blocks to sit in Zazen. And hopefully both sitting bones can touch the block when you're sitting on it. I want you to have the sensation of the block. That's why I'm saying hopefully they can both touch. That you can feel that as a comfortable place to land. Rest your hands in your lap. And put your mind down into all the places where you are connected to the ground. And let those deepen a bit. You can sense your roots going down. And roll your pelvis forward so you can feel your sitting bones touching the blocks. Roll the pelvis backwards so you'll feel the sitting bones and then the back of the sacrum. Probably your tailbone's not going to touch the block because the block is horizontal. So roll forward again like a cat pose pelvis. And roll back again like I'm sorry, that was a cow pose pelvis. This is like a cat pose pelvis, so roll backwards. And do that one more time. Roll forward. You're going to feel those bony landmarks because the block, I hope your block is firm enough that you can feel it. And then roll backwards last time. And then take the same block that you're sitting on, but orient it to be more like this one, the lengthwise of your mat. And sneak your feet out so you're going to sit on it. And I am going to request that you're sitting on this block. So your sitting bones are like this. It's flanking the sides of the block. And if that's really painful, you might need to put some padding on the butt or put some padding on the block, which could be a blanket, for example. Let's place the feet so they're hip distance apart. Reach forward, roll forward, and then roll back. Don't roll backwards all the way off your block, please. Just roll back to sense, okay, there's the sacrum. And then roll forward. You're going to sense the sacrum inside of the ischial tuberosities, the inner edge of the sitting bones. Roll forward, more towards the front edge of your sitting bones. And then rolling back. I know this is tender. And I also know that yesterday in one of our classes, and I can't recall if it was yesterday or Monday now, but we did some release like this at the sitting bones and the greater trochanters. And then people's experience in Baddha Konasana was like much more easeful. So I'm not actually just torturing you. And this does get better. The sensations do get easier. Sometimes you'll have a difference right to left and you get the first glimpse of awareness that you've got something brewing at the discrepancy from one hip to the other. Okay, one more time, please come forward. And then please roll back. And now place your hands behind you. Without the block tipping, I hope. Pick up your knees. Now you're near the mid to upper part of the sacrum. And then touch your feet gently back to the floor. And let's just, while we're here, let's just check one thing. So we can go back to in the meditation when we had the twist to one side or the other. I said, oh, let's also keep all 4 points equal. So let's see what happens if you twist when you have this kind of sensory feedback from your sitting bones. So cross your left hand to your right knee. And as you go to twist to your right, can you keep the left sitting bone and the right sitting bone pretty equal? And then come around to center and try the other side. If you cross your right hand over and you twist to your left, can you keep your right sitting bone pretty equal? And then come around to center, and we're going to use 2 blocks to come into Baddha Konasana. So we'll place the 2 blocks like a little diamond, and I'll show you that here. I just have to get this little diamond off of my knee for a moment. I know, it's painful, the separations are painful. So the 2 blocks like this, you won't know the distance between them until you're actually doing your pose. And you're going to sit on the blocks and put the feet into Baddha Konasana like this. And then we're aiming to come forward. Now, it's not likely that you have the same sensations from the blocks on the sitting bones. In fact, my hope is that they feel free now, and the tailbone and the pubic bone also feel free. But you may have sensations from the blocks at your outer thigh bones, and then from the pose at the inner thighs. Let's bring attention back down to the places where you're connecting to the ground, and imagine again that the earth is welcoming you to that great stability and nourishment, nutrient-dense soil. And walk your hands back towards your hips. Rise up to sitting. Bring the knees up together. Place your hands behind you. And now when you roll backwards, the blocks are going to be in a different spot. Probably you're going to feel your piriformis muscles. So you're right on the back side of those blocks. And don't fall off, please, but you're at the back of the sitting bones, between the sacrum and the sitting bones. And there is some tenderness there. So roll the legs forward, touch. And then pick up and roll back. Kind of like a cat pose spine here. And then rolling forward. And then touch. And rolling back. And do that twice more. If you can, smile at your sensations. And then coming up, and one more time, Baddha Konasana. Excuse me. So when you reach forward now, notice if there's any difference for you in how your body is able to come forward. And then we are going to roll up to sit in Baddha Konasana, hands out over the knees. And see if you can sense any access you might have to a more mental quietude. And feel into the possibility that beneath the noise and haste of the mind, there is a kind of presence in you that is actually you being infused, like the trees and the stars, and everyone and everything. And then please release. So we're going to come to Shavasana and save some time at the end of class for meditation. So please find your Shavasana position. And this morning, since we've been using the blocks, you might use them in your Shavasana. Or you could feel tired of your blocks and you can set them aside. You can also cover with a blanket if you would like. When you get to Shavasana, a really important time that you get to have the mental quiet that most of us are craving. Particularly pertinent to the sequence that I was teaching you guys was to help bring Vata down. So let's imagine that the windstorm of the mind, the Vata mind, can actually become still for a time. Even if it's just 7 minutes of stillness or 8 minutes of stillness. It might be particularly helpful to imagine the bones of your pelvis and the bones of your legs being heavy, all the way to your heels and your toes. So you can imagine when those parts of your body get heavier, there is a leveling influence for the mind, potentially to get quieter. You may also practice resting your mind on those very sensations of your contact with the ground. Allow your mind to get heavy and relaxed a short while longer. Now welcoming this stillness to be something that you could remember. Like it's not only a passing state because you're in Shavasana, with the inner sense of integration perhaps, or steadiness perhaps, or resolution, that you can have this as a memory in the body to bring with you. And then slightly deepen your breathing. And knowing that I'm inviting you to transition for the purpose of meditation, make your transition thoughtful, not chaotic. You can bend your knees and roll to one side. And then use both hands to come up to sitting. And then whatever you need to sit on for meditation, you can establish that. You can rest your hands out over your knees or in your lap, whatever you prefer. And try to sense once more these 4 points, even though they're not all likely to be touching the surface now, the blanket or the blocks. Try to sense the descending quality from each root. And notice what that rooting gives rise to. And so if our motivations, if our thoughts, if our perspectives came from nutrient-dense soil, like nutrient-dense practice, a nutrient-dense community, a nutrient-dense connection to the traditions, ages-old traditions, and please bring your hands to your heart. And may this opportunity, which we have scheduled ourselves into and which we have the life circumstances to make happen, may this opportunity for practice, may it nourish and enrich each of us. And may we in some way then contribute to the access that others will have to their own well-being or safety or feeling of resourcedness or connection. We'll chant Om Shanti together 3 times. And inhale. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Om. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. So I'll bring my co-teacher and myself up so I can see you. Ready? Yeah. Mhm. So welcome back from Shavasana. Hi, Emily. I know. Yeah, that was a good teaching on impermanence. Thanks. Yeah, he's meditating again. He's very dedicated. How are you feeling?